who were you before this whole business development thing?
Before this, I wanted to become a Catholic priest. That's what I was.
So dream. So right now we'll be calling you Reverend Derrick.
I would be having, I think, 3 years to complete. Yeah.
Oh wow! You actually went through with it. You didn't just.
Yeah, I was in a seminary for quite a while.
Okay. Welcome to the Hear Me Out podcast. I'm Sheba.
And I'm Zita.
And today we have a business developer that we wanted to discuss a few things. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have him on the pod quite a couple of times just to discuss business development, how that works here in Uganda. So thank you for watching. Welcome. How are you, Derrick?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I'm really excited to have you here because as a media entrepreneur and soon, hopefully, other spaces, I have too many questions. What comes to mind first when you think someone new to the landscape of Uganda investing and they want to take this space seriously? What should they think?
Thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Derrick, just like you said. Talking about someone who has just entered the country or has not actually lived here, just entering, let's say, maybe you've worked abroad or something and you're entering the country. The first thing is patience. Yeah, the first thing is patience. Uganda is relatively slow. Yeah, so you have to be patient. One thing I've seen over the years is that an investor comes in and they have probably 3 months here. I think in 3 months, they're going to find the right pipeline. And then in that right pipeline, they will invest. And probably in the next 1 year, they will maybe get returns. I think our market doesn't work like that. There is need for a lot of patience. And then also there is need to know that you need to understand the context. So for example, in Uganda, most of us are first-time or first-generation entrepreneurs, implying that our parents were not entrepreneurs. We are the entrepreneurs. So that means that we don't have enough data to rely on, and neither do we have the right experience or enough experience to build businesses. So when you come in to invest in Ugandans, try so much to invest in people, not necessarily businesses.
Relationships.
Okay? Yeah. Thank you, relationships, if you could call it like that. So what I mean by that is that you can find someone who has a very great idea, but they're just running away from poverty. Okay? So if someone has that kind of mindset, the moment you invest in them, the first thing they're going to use the money is go to Bandali Rise and do some...
And call it a celebration.
Yeah, they'll just wash away the poverty if you put it in Ugandan language. But if you find someone who's really passionate about what they want to do or the problem they're trying to solve, that is the kind of person to invest in. And sometimes it doesn't matter the quality of the business because Uganda is such a virgin market that even if you started any sort of business, it is very easy for you to penetrate this market, develop the kind of clientele that you'd want and build a business. But then if the entrepreneur is not the right guy, regardless of the idea, it is going to fail. And we've seen that with very many businesses that have gotten crazy amounts of money and then later on they've fallen or they fail to work. So I think just to reiterate, be patient. No, this is very many entrepreneurs are first-generation entrepreneurs and invest in individuals, not necessarily business ideas.
To add on that, you know how like you're telling us to like invest in relationships, but I feel like you can invest in relationships and then fail at the negotiating part.
Yeah, that is possible, but then you should also understand that, for example, recently I was listening to someone who is an investor in East Africa, and they were saying that the biggest problem they're having as investors is that most of the businesses in Uganda cannot take big sums of money. Most of the businesses are looking for like 20K USD, 10K USD, and most of the investors are coming in with 50 million USD and they want to invest over 10 years, and someone is like just looking for 10K for the next quarter.
Also, we are limiting ourselves.
We are limiting ourselves, but also the businesses we are building just limit everything. But also the market is still small. Yeah. But answering your question directly, negotiating with Ugandans would be easy because I think many of us are not looking for like crazy amounts, and neither are we not willing to give away too much equity. You can find a Ugandan who you will give 20k USD and they give you 40% of the stake in the business. So most of the Ugandans are not really stingy with equity, but also you should understand that you need to first educate them about equity. Most of them do not really know what equity means. They think when you come in as an investor, maybe you invest the money, but then how does it work? Most of them don't really know how it works. So you need to first also educate them. We do have a few hubs that are trying to do that, but again, still very slow. The reach is also very, very limited. Yeah, so there is a lot to do. There is a lot of work to do. I think we've had that conversation many times.
Yeah, because I think when you speak like this, I think of a space like Reddit. So I wonder how Reddit would work here. And you know, the issue that a lot of people have, I think a lot of investors have, is thinking what works somewhere else could work here only because it worked there. And it's so, you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say.
They really have to understand that also there are very, very many moving pieces here. First of all, the policies are different from the Western policies. The tax regime is very different from their tax regime. When it comes to accessing finance here in the country, it is different from the way it is in the Western world. For example, the interest rates here are crazy, out of the roof. But then when you go to the US, maybe Silicon Valley, wherever, you find that you can access financing with very low interest rates. So there are very many moving pieces. And also they should also understand that our pipeline really is not yet up there. That means, by pipeline, I mean the business ideas that people are developing here. We're just starting as an ecosystem.
To mitigate all of that, would a space like Reddit work here? And have you seen anything similar to a space like Reddit, just to make sure that people are looking up potential opportunities, investors, relationships that they should actually try and invest in?
I think a space like Reddit wouldn't really work. I've seen a few attempts where Ugandans have tried to build maybe a place or a platform where...
What is Reddit, for people that don't know Reddit?
I think it's a platform. Just a platform where you can access most of the information around an ecosystem or around particular things.
Businesses.
But yeah, businesses and all that. What I know in Uganda is that we have the Uganda Investment Authority. That is one that you could use. We have PSFU, that is Private Sector Foundation Uganda. They have a lot of data around businesses. We do have a few people that we know have tried it out. For example, there are people who are part of the Uganda Investors Network, Uganda Angel Investors Network. There was a gentleman called Agase Kalala and a few other guys. So those are the guys that really have insight on the ecosystem. We do have hubs that are trying to build or trying to support entrepreneurs. So also those are the go-to places if you need data and information about the pipeline in Uganda.
How important is data?
Pardon?
How important is data in investment?
I think data is almost everything, in my opinion. You must be logical as an investor. And you must not follow emotions. Entrepreneurs do follow emotions, but as an investor, really, you must be quite logical. And the only thing that can inform your logic or your point of view is data. And of course, we do have a problem with data in the country because not very many people have collected the data. And also the people that have the data are trying to push their own agendas most of the times. And sometimes the numbers are inflated and all that stuff. But at least we have a starting point. There are a few places that you can go to and maybe expect that you'll find some relatively reliable data that you can use to invest.
I need you to help us explain to our viewers what exactly business development is.
Okay. So there are very many ways of looking at it, but in a nutshell, it is making money. That's what I would call it. How do you make money? There are very many moving pieces again with that. You could be a guy who is employed by a corporate entity, and then you're trying to help them maybe improve their revenue streams, or maybe develop new revenue streams, or maybe build sustainability around their revenue streams or the different things. Or you could be just a guy who is unable to handle risk that comes with entrepreneurship, and you just decide to exploit the existing systems to build businesses or sell your ideas to existing businesses. And to explain that, I'll give you an example. For example, if you look at MTN, when MTN started, they were not, they didn't have Momo or mobile money. So probably some guy can go to MTN and be like, hey, do you know that if we could do mobile money, we could make some money? And then you sign a contract and you are like a founder within an existing business. So you develop that particular revenue stream within MTN. So very important, use that approach. And those are usually the guys who cannot take on the risk of starting their own entity or starting their own business. So they decide to build within an existing
Just
business.
being strategic with partnerships.
Yeah, I think that's what I would explain business development as. But in a nutshell, it is just making money.
You know, we had a previous episode where we spoke, or I asked her what she thought the business landscape would be like the most lucrative investment to make within Uganda, within like her opinion and all of that, what she's seen, given she had the resources to do whatever she wanted to do, right? She made an interesting point of real estate. And we had a lot of pushback on the comments, and they were like, oh, it's too saturated. We're not focused on the things that we need to focus on, right? I agreed with her point only because for me, I see it as, it's part of the 5, or is it 4 basic necessities of life, right? Housing. There can be a niche within, real estate. So what do you think the saturation is about in terms of real estate, and what do entrepreneurs actually misunderstand when it comes to real estate?
I am not a real estate expert, but just to give my point of view as an observer, actually, not an expert. I think if you talk about real estate, you're really talking mostly about Kampala metropolitan. Outside Kampala, real estate is not so lucrative. So if you think that your market is just going to be Kampala because it's in Kampala where maybe real estate is still expensive and maybe you need investors to come into it. But if you moved out of Kampala, many people can really afford to put up their own structures, even if it's out of mud or anything. They can really afford to put up their own structures. So if you're an investor in real estate, it doesn't make sense. Even if you're investing in rentals, outside Kampala, rentals are like 50K. Still, if you're going to break even, it will take so many years. Yeah. And so around Kampala, it makes sense. And around Kampala, I mean Kampala metropolitan, it makes a lot of sense. But outside Kampala, it doesn't make sense. So it makes it so niche, or it limits your market. But if you looked at real estate maybe 10 years from now, given the cities that are growing in the country, the infrastructure development, the population growth, maybe 10 years from now, it will be a very big thing. Today, it is not. And of course, as an investor, you want to look ahead. You want to look ahead and enter the market, as an early adopter. So that's what I would say. But again, those are my views as an observer, not as an expert.
Okay, so as you who is here on ground, what growth opportunities do you see in Uganda or East Africa that most people overlook?
In Uganda, so first of all, you should understand what informs the opportunities. So for example, we do have our beloved government. Yeah, our government
beloved.
Yeah, I say that because of very many reasons, and you're Ugandan, so you know. We have our government, and they have focus areas. So you should understand that as an investor, you're not going to operate in a vacuum. There are very many factors involved, or very many moving pieces. So the government has focus areas. And the focus areas, at the moment, they're doing a lot of infrastructure development. But what are they trying to push, or what's the agenda they're trying to push with the infrastructure development? So you have to look at all those moving pieces. And when you look at the economy, they're saying that our economy is growing at 6.3%, I think, something like that. But then they're only focusing on GDP per capita and all that stuff. But then when you combine all that data, it should inform the opportunities. So you shouldn't just probably watch some random news bulletin and they tell you the opportunities and they don't have the data to back it up and you think those are the opportunities. No, there are very many factors, or there are very many things that we should look at to gauge the opportunities. And focusing on that data, I think the opportunities that are available in the country, one, it's definitely going to be agriculture or agri-tech. Why agri-tech? The climate is changing very fast. We don't have enough data to predict where it is going. So anyone who is going to invest in agri-tech, and agri-tech, I mean enabling solutions for agriculture to be consistent or sustainable, is going to have, there is a big opportunity in that. We have a very fast growing population, and our population is quite young. So, a very big percentage of Ugandans are young. So any solution that is around these young people, what could be the solution around young people? I don't really know at the moment, but any solution around young people could get you great opportunities. 10 years from now, like we've said, real estate will be a thing. We have oil and gas. Oil and gas is such a big thing, and minerals also to be specific. Minerals are a thing at the moment in Uganda. We recently discovered gold. There is oil. There is all that stuff. So there is great opportunity in there. I've always believed, and this could be a wild idea, that if someone could invest in proper transportation in this country, logistics. So, for example,
The train.
thank you. I wanted to say that exactly. That we want to build a railway line, but we need private investment in that for this country. I don't think the government has the right resources and goodwill to invest within the railway.
Goodwill is crazy.
Yeah, to invest in that. But I think there is great opportunities in there. Being a landlocked country, really need things to move a little bit faster. And the new cities and all that stuff. So if someone can invest in that, there is great opportunity in that. But of course, there is a lot of risk. So you just have to really assess.
In your field, how important is failure? Because failure happens to everyone in business. How would you say it has helped you maybe grow or improve as a businessman?
Okay.
And business developer.
First of all, we have to understand failure is failure. And it sucks to fail. And we shouldn't glorify failure in any way. I think it sucks. But I think we need to understand that it is a constant. It's something that is going to consistently happen no matter where you are. In my field, I'm one of those entrepreneurs that I talked about that try to build within existing businesses and hate starting their own thing, because I think my risk appetite is very low. I don't want to be out there building businesses and being broke. I want to build within existing businesses because it's much faster, and then you get to learn more. But then even in that system, you fail quite many times, especially in relationship building. The people or the Ugandans that we work with, when it comes to maintaining relationships, we are good with maintaining social relationships. When it comes to business,
like ethics, they lack
ethics. And of course, many Ugandans don't understand or have not yet appreciated the idea of contracts and all that stuff. So many times it's usually gentleman's agreement, and someone wakes up
even contracts. I'm sorry to say, I get contracts. Sometimes I don't read them. Sometimes I read them and I just end up signing. And that's not wise. Please don't make my mistake.
Thank you. Many people actually do get contracts and don't read them. Recently, I was listening to Mbire. Mbire, you'd say he's one of the richest men in Uganda. He should be able to read contracts, but he was giving us his story that he had with a local bank where they gave him a lot of money, and he didn't read the contract very well. And later on, they told him, man, we want our money within 1 year, and he didn't have the money. And we need to appreciate the idea of contracts so that we're able to build relationships. But also our legal system should be able to handle business cases, I think, quite faster, in my opinion. Of course, we do have, there is a court system that they created for small cases around money and finance. So they do help businessmen quite a lot. But of course, even other bigger business cases should be handled much faster so that, business moves a bit faster in Uganda. But answering your question again, we should appreciate, or we should understand that failure is going to be a constant in business. And when you fail, of course, you have to understand that you need to move on. Of course, that's what motivational speakers say. But sometimes you should give up, because if the data suggests that you should give up, give up. If there was someone I was listening to recently, let me quote that. Someone said that giving up is not the problem, but you should have an idea. Let me rephrase it. When you have an idea and a vision, let's call it a vision. You have a vision. Don't give up on the vision, but give up on the way that you reach the vision.
Change your strategy.
Yeah, you can always change the strategy and the systems, but the vision is what you don't give up on. So when motivational speakers tell you don't give up, of course they're telling you don't give up on the vision.
Like, should I skip Tuesday because Monday was bad?
I'm going to play devil's advocate with what you just said, because there's a business I used to work for, and I was the sales manager here in Uganda. It's a tech company. So it was almost as if a really, powerful individual or just people with money took the whole infrastructure and rebranded it, right? And added maybe a few things here and there. So you can have somebody that's passionate, pours everything into it, years into it, and they still get that no. And they still get that, and then you think it's just like, it's a common need. so many people will benefit from it. And previously I used to be like, you know what? I don't understand people that leave and never come back. They know who else is going to build, you know? And so I just wonder what you think about that.
My answer to that would be, remember when I told you that most of the people that build businesses in Uganda are trying to run away from poverty? That is one of the reasons that's why most of the Ugandan businesses, there is that Harvard Business Review thing where they said Uganda is the most entrepreneurial country, but at the same time, the country that has the most or the highest mortality rate for businesses. It goes back to the reason why Ugandans build. It goes back to the reason that's why Ugandans build. Most of the Ugandans build because they want to run away from poverty. And I'll give you a reason as to why most of Ugandans build because they want to run away from poverty. There was a recent assessment, and I think the president has been pushing this for quite a while, that over 60%, I think it's over 60% of Ugandans have been out of the money economy. As in, Ugandans have been subsistence guys for quite a while. So it is now that most of us are entering into business. And why we are entering into business is because we want to access money. Not necessarily because we're passionate about stuff. We want to really solve people's problems, but we just want to get money. So of course, when the money doesn't come, or if you have any issues, you run away because you're not really passionate about the thing. And unfortunately, hubs and motivational speakers have taught us to say, I'm passionate, but are you really? Is it the money that you're passionate about?
I've started like 3 businesses before.
I'm passionate about
I'm passionate about money, but I've had like 3 businesses where like it doesn't work out. I'm like quick to change. I'm like, you know what, I think skincare is not working. Let me try selling clothes. No, let me try.
So if you're actually passionate about skincare, you would even work 5 years without money, but you're just passionate about it. Trust me, you would. I mean, you're passionate about media. Have you made any money yet?
Wow.
Yo.
My heart.
It's a genuine question. But it tries to, I'm just bringing out the idea of passion.
Yeah.
That most times if you're really passionate about solving a particular problem,
the
problems will come, the failure will come, but you just keep pushing.
Yeah.
You just keep pushing. But again, Ugandans, we're just building to get some money and eat supper tomorrow.
It's so funny you say that because just the other day I was thinking about a business idea that was just going to make me money while I also focus on my passion. Are you reading my mind?
Like, no, I want to start poultry, guys. I want money from everywhere.
I'm telling you. So it's just like...
but are we passionate?
Yeah, that's the question. So if you started poultry
but
and
if
then
you're passionate and hungry, how does that work? Passionate and hungry at the same time?
I've seen entrepreneurs in this ecosystem. Guy puts on the same shoe for 2 years.
No.
Building.
That's why I say I get the Ugandan struggle of like, you have to do maybe something you don't like and something you're passionate because you're not going to be hungry. You know? How can you work when you're hungry? Oh.
You can.
You can, but why would you opt for that when they sell chicken for, I don't know, poultry or what? I don't know about poultry, but like, you know what I mean? Like you can find a particular business that gets you a lot of money.
Sometimes you have to just hustle, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. I get it. That's struggle myself.
It's just a difference in mindset, I think. That some people are passionate and they're just going to push that regardless. And some people are going to be like, I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to sleep in...
And go back to 9 to 5 or whatever that they can find.
They can go back to 9 to 5 or they can just start poultry and, and sell chicken.
So anyway, let's first step away from the business part. Who were you before this whole business development thing?
Before this, I wanted to become a Catholic priest. That's what I was.
Sips and drink. So right now we'll be calling you Reverend Derrick.
I would be having, I think, 3 years to complete. Yeah.
Oh wow! You actually went through with it. You didn't just...
Yeah, I was in a seminary for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had just sworn never to get married. You're just going to follow Christ.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
I don't think we want to go into that, but I think to put it in a very political way, a very diplomatic way, I noticed that there were many more things I could do with my life. And I think my passions are really out of the church. Not necessarily not as a Christian. You cannot really go very far as a priest if you want to do the things I want to do. So I looked at it and it was a trade-off. I was like, you know what? I'll take this other side.
So the people you are with in the seminary, what misconceptions do they have about this Derrick that has chosen the path of business development?
I don't think they have misconceptions because they don't understand what I'm doing. They would only have misconceptions if they understood what I'm doing.
Makes
so
sense.
the fact that they don't understand what I'm doing, or they've never even taken interest in what I'm doing, I don't think they would have misconceptions around that. That's what I would say.
Okay.
We have, I think, very many people that would disagree with you in terms of what you said about really focusing on passions and how important it is. Let me just read you a comment real quick. Okay, GBR, I don't know what. Investments cannot be based on beliefs. It's best to rely on proven statistics of what works. E.g., in Uganda, commercial real estate is more lucrative than residential real estate. But I personally think for our country, like UG, events and nightlife is best or an easy investment. What's your take?
First of all, I do agree that investment is based on data. I think I did mention that you should really based on data to make an investment, not emotions. Because emotions have only created for us bubbles, and bubbles have always led us into very weird depressions and stuff like that. So yes, investment must be based on data. That's true. Commercial real estate versus residential real estate. Again, I'm not a real estate investor or expert, but I do think that they're right. Yeah, commercial real estate makes more money. The nightlife, you need to be very keen around that. I feel like bars close quite a lot in Uganda. Yes, they do make money, but they do close quite a lot in Uganda.
They rebrand, I guess.
I think a few do close, a few do rebranding or maybe reinvestment. And if you should also understand that the nightlife is really around the central region. So most of the times you're looking at things around central region and we think, oh, things are actually moving, but it's just a particular area. If you move to my home area in Bunyoro sub-region, bars don't really make money. Yeah, you just make a bar because maybe you're just passionate about selling beer, but you're not going to really make a lot of money compared to someone in Nonivi or something. And I'm not saying that bars don't make money. They do, but they do close quite a lot. I'm not a nightlife person, so I wouldn't be the best judge.
Why are you saying that while looking at me? It's like I'm not a nice person.
Why are you being defensive?
Hey!
Let me read another comment. So this one, I think just went on a rant, basically saying the same thing that you said about making decisions based on facts and so forth. But then they also said something that was interesting of researching, studying all these, multimillionaires, billionaires, what they do and all that. But I think there's a lot of misconception when it comes to like what works elsewhere and then what works here, right? The average multimillionaire here is definitely not investing in what's, that's on the side. But I think what cuts across is technology. So can you speak to what could probably cut across? Because I could be wrong.
I think technology does cut across. We're having more internet penetration in the country, and we're having more Ugandans getting access to smartphones and stuff. So yeah, and the data does suggest that technology will work. For example, the work MTN is doing with all the mobile money and stuff, all that is technology, and it's doing great. They're actually making more money with mobile money than any other product, in my opinion. So yeah, technology does cut across, but then leveraging or looking at what Western entrepreneurs have done and then replicating that here, you're up for failure. Definitely, you're up for failure. Our context is quite different. Our context is quite different. The environment in which we are building is very different from the environment they've been building in. In America, it's a place where you go with an idea and get investment. Here, you give someone your idea and see. Even your uncle will say, I think you should get a job. You should get a job. So our context is quite different. So you cannot have the same mindset and use it here. You should really understand our context and develop within our constraints. And yeah, also data, again, it's very important. And also another thing about data is that since we said that we don't have readily available data, of course there is scattered data, we don't have really readily available data. So it's important that if you can, invest your initial budget in R&D, that is research and development. So make some proper research that is unique to your business, collect your own data, and then build based off that particular data. That's what I would say.
Well, in your world, what would you what's the difference between hustle and strategy? Because there's this saying of work smart and not hard.
Mm-hmm. Hustle is what most Ugandans are doing. We're just hustling. Most
By
young
EDB.
people, by EDB, yes. We are trying to get tomorrow's bread. But if you could just combine strategy to your hustle, because strategy is just like a tool that you can incorporate in your hustle to make sure that it's more sustainable and it can go over a longer period of time, and most importantly, you can make more money. So, for example, if you are selling, let me see, what are you passionate about selling? Makeup, what? Skincare products. So if fashion, let me go with fashion. So if you are passionate about fashion and you're importing clothes, and if you added strategy to that, you'd and also strategy is informed by data, by the way. Strategy should not be based on emotions. Strategy should be based on data. So if you're investing in apparel or that textile industry, you'd understand that in Uganda, we only have Nightingale at the moment that is trying to create clothes. And then we import, I think, around 800 million worth of clothes, 800 million US dollars worth of clothes every year. Almost the same amount of coffee we export. So we give it back to China and all those other countries importing clothes. So you'd understand there is an opportunity there. Yeah. But if you're just hustling, you just sell your clothes and stuff. But if you add strategy, you will look at the data that there is an 800 million market in here in case you became a creator. For example, I'll give you a Wire. Well, you guys know Wire.
I wear Wire sometimes.
Nice.
I'm wearing a Ugandan designer now.
Great. So if you look at Wire is trying to create their own stuff around here in the country.
You're going so far. Duta Mohanji, I'm wearing a brand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so are you.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
So those are people who are trying to add strategy to hustle. That what, there is a market here that is very big. How can we exploit that market? What are the opportunities that are in that market? And what is the trajectory of that market? And how do we become maybe early adopters or early investors and make sure that we are well positioned to get the money out of it? Yeah.
So, there's usually, I've seen a couple of times where people are online and they're like discussing, they're like, you're busy with your iPhone, yet you can use that same money to start a business or do something. So let's say we give an iPhone price, like 3.5 million, 3.7,
depends on
4
your
million,
budget.
right? Let's say 4 million. Let's just say 4 million. What would you advise with the knowledge that you know? And is it about advising, or is it about being on ground and seeing this works, this doesn't work? Because, as you said, there's different motives, passion, data that informs whatever someone is doing.
Also, about the iPhone, man, be happy. Eh? What makes you
live your
But
life?
that thingy that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sometimes even investing in the iPhone can make you money.
Exactly.
Thank you. It can, and sometimes it cannot. But
I'm speaking as a creator, so
bottom line, be happy. Yeah? But talking about someone who has that amount of money, should you invest it in luxury, or should you invest it in a business? It depends on one. If at all you have such a small budget of 4 million, that's very small. It cannot even pay proper rent of a particular building if you want to invest in many things. So you have to start maybe an online business, in my opinion, if you are to start that. And are you really passionate about it? Do you have the right skill set?
Consistency.
Do you have the
going
consistency?
back to passion.
Pardon?
You keep going back to passion. And I'm like, people got bills to pay.
They do have bills to pay, but at some point you must be passionate about something for you to survive in this country.
So after the data, you got the data, you have the strategy, like still be very passionate about whatever you're doing. That's what you
said in the last episode.
The things have landed. Okay.
Yeah. You can have all the data, you can have all the money, but if you're not really, I'll give you an example. Recently we hosted a guy who sells herbal medicine, and he makes crazy amounts of money. Selling herbal medicine, and many people know him.
I'm going to start selling herbal medicine, guys.
But the difference is that he has invested a lot in R&D, crazy amounts, over millions of US dollars in R&D. So you may not really compete with him, but he makes crazy lots of money. However, there was another guy who had hit a deal, and he had, I think, in his story, he says this guy had exactly 1 million US dollars, and he wanted to invest in the same business and compete with this guy. But because this guy was coming from a point of, I think this guy is making money, I should invest in the same
business.
Yeah, in the same business, copy paste. I think again, based on his story, around 1 year, this guy had run out of business and he left. He packed and went because he didn't have that grit that passion gives you, because if you're passionate about something, stuff will come. Many hurdles will come. The taxman will come. The policies will be against you. Some guy will sue you. Some employee will steal your stuff. But what do you do after that?
Nothing.
So it's passion that takes you through all those things. But of course, passion is there. You must also have the other things that are required.
Okay. So when you're planning for growth, like let's say for a business, what are the first 3 questions you ask?
For growth, first of all, the question is why? Why do you want to grow that business? And by growth, we mean that there is an existing business,
Yes.
yeah, and then you want to grow it. Okay. So the first question is why. What's the rationale? Sometimes it's ego, because why I opened a new branch, I think I should also open a new branch, but do you have that many customers? Do you have the resources? Do you have the skill set? Yeah. So sometimes people want to grow because of ego, but sometimes people want to grow because the demand is there. And if you've done economics, then you know supply and demand, and you must grow because the demand is more, and so you're trying to increase supply. And then also another question would be, when you grow, then what? Yeah. So if I open a new shop, then what? What happens next? Yeah. So there should be a plan, a proper plan. Then we've grown, we've opened a new shop. What's the next strategy? Sometimes people are growing in terms of new revenue streams, not just growing the existing business. They're trying to grow new revenue streams. So if you expand to a new revenue stream, what is your strategy? What is your plan with a new revenue stream? Yeah. Is it just because you went to a meeting at Serena and some guy was like, by the way, if you invest in cameras, you could record podcasts.
You look like you can record nice videos.
Yeah, you just took a nice photo of me and I think you can actually do this.
They told me that, and now I want to become a videographer.
So yeah, that is not enough.
Yeah.
There should be, if you're going into a new revenue stream, there should be proper planning and a proper strategy that you put up, and the data must be supporting again what you're trying to build. I'll keep going back to data, that the data must support what you're trying to build. The third question would be, are we going to make money? For me, that's the thing at the end of it all.
Why,
Yeah?
what?
Are we going to make the money? Yeah. So that goes back to the business model, that you've built for the growth, for the new growth, or the new business or revenue stream that you've created. Where are you going to make the money? How are you going to make money? I've seen a couple of entrepreneurs in this country that build businesses in their room and think that the market is just going to respond. Yeah, and you've not probably created a proper business model for you. Think, if I do poultry, we're going to make money. But how? How are you actually going to make the money out of poultry? Do you know how many guys are competing in this market?
I was asked the same question because I was talking to my mom. I told her I want to invest in poultry. She's like, oh, so who are you going to supply to? I'm like, I'll go to supermarkets. She's like, yeah, so where would someone come and pick your brand and leave you chick or like your cuckoo or something?
And do you know how supermarkets work here? They pay you after 30 days. Are you able to wait for 30 days before you're paid?
Patience is my middle name.
So how you're going to make money is very important, because at the end of the day, you're building a business. Yeah. The business only makes sense if it is going to make money. It may not make money immediately, but there should be a proper understanding of how you're going to make money. And your business model must make sense. Your business model must not be built out of emotions. Again, must be built based on data and market response. And then there you'll be sure that you're going to make money. But even when you reach there and the things are different ground, you should be able to iterate.
So as me, who wants to start up a business, but I have no BD team, what advice would you give me?
So you've seen scenarios where someone starts a business and eventually when the business grows, the board is like, you know what, we need a new CEO. And I think we saw that, I don't know if I'm misquoting, but I think we've seen that with Rocket Health, if you know Rocket Health. And we've seen it with a few other businesses in the country, that the founder is pushed out to bring in a new person. And why am I giving you that scenario? Business development is so crucial that anything else can go away and you just remain with someone who is able to develop the business. Yeah. So if you are a founder and you are not well versed with business development, you really need to find someone. I think that should be your first employee, that this guy is good at business development. For me, I'm very good at maybe building tech. I'm very good at holding the cameras. I'm very good at tailoring, but you need someone who is very good at the business side of things. Yeah. Why most times they oust or they remove the CEO who was the founder is because they're just passionate about the product, but they are not very good at the business side of things. And yet it's a business side of things that will help the business to grow and be sustainable. So talking again about the entrepreneur, make sure that is the first guy you work with. If it means giving them equity, give them equity and tell them, what, you're the guy that is going to go to the market. I'll give you an example. The very basic example of Apple. There was a guy called Steve Jobs, but there was a guy who was good at building the tech. Yeah, Steve Jobs was good at the business. He was the guy who was building the tech. And most of the businesses, that's how they're built. Usually the co-founder, there is a guy who is good at the actual product, and there's a guy who is good at the actual business. So you need to get that guy. Do everything you do, but get that guy. If you can't get that guy, try to be that guy.
So in short, you just can't do everything on your own.
No,
Have
you
a
can't.
team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have a team.
So, me personally, I just want to know if you can help me build that business with 4 million shillings. I really do, because budgets are crazy, and very interesting, and they go up and down, but the passion is still there. I really want to, on this podcast.
You want to build a business with 4 million. So we are brainstorming a business that we can build with 4 million.
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen a surge in online businesses. Yeah, there are very many online businesses that are growing today, and it just takes the skill of you must be really good at social media management and digital marketing. Let's call it digital marketing, because social media is not enough. You must be good at digital marketing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people understand the difference between social media management and digital marketing. Those are two different things.
I personally don't. I thought it was one thing.
And digital marketing has very many things. Yeah. There is the content creation that most people do and call it digital marketing. There is a social media management that most people do. There is the actual graphics, there is the part of graphics design. There is SEO, which is search engine optimization. Search engine optimization means that if at all I Googled your business, if I put in the name Zeta group of companies, would your business be the first to come? And what information would come? So all those skills are very important. If you have a website, how do you optimize? How do you do all those other background stuff? Some people are good at UI, UX and all that stuff. So all those things can be in digital marketing. So that's a skill that you need. That's what you need to be very good at. And the good thing, it's not a talent, it's a skill. Digital marketing is a skill, not a talent. Some people think it's a talent, but those are usually content creators who think because they're content creators then and they're talented and they think so digital marketing is a skill. So if you have 4 million, in my opinion, you could start a business that is an online business, because you don't need assets really. All you need is a skill. But asset-based businesses are very expensive. Yeah. But if you have an online business that doesn't really need physical assets, then it's possible. For example, downtown here in Uganda, you can just go and deal with a guy who sells shoes and tell him, I'm always going to come and record the shoes and do my thing. And when my customers come through, I'll send them to you. Recently, I was actually talking to a girl who wants to start a perfume business. And I told them, there is a girl I know who is at Pioneer Mall who sells perfumes. Go to her, talk to her, and she allows you to take content, build your pages, sell your perfumes there.
You can even sell them at your own price and then you give her actual
exactly,
price.
Yes. Whenever people buy, you tell the person to send the perfume to them, you give them their cut and you remain with your cut. You've not invested in anything really. You've invested in your skills.
And relationship.
Yeah, and the relationship, yeah. So that's what we'll do with the 4 million. But besides that, you can eat it.
Thank you so much for joining us here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on all our pages. Hear me out. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you.
You never know. We might read your comment next time.
And you could be the next business owner.